The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. The Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, the Cloak of Invisibility. Together they make the Deathly Hallows. Together they make one Master of Death. The last will and testament of Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore.
Do not pity the dead, Harry. Pity the living. And above all those who live without love.
Hey everyone, welcome to Hogwarts, a podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Hogwarts, a podcast. We are covering Chapter 29, The Lost Diadem. Julie is with us again.
Hi, everybody.
And if you're ready for more hot takes, I'm sure Julie has them again.
Me? Never.
No. We don't have any shout-outs. This is an exciting point in the book as we've flipped the page, because clearly we can't stop reading after the last chapter, so we're just going to get right into the next one. And it's Neville. Neville is here, and hugs all around. He's overjoyed and happy to see Harry, Ron, and Hermione, even though he's in a little bit of a rough shape. He's not doing so hot. He's got a swollen eye, gouge marks on his face, which just sounds super painful, and a general vibe of being unkempt. And Neville kind of waves us off and is like, yeah, you know, whatever, I'm fine. Seamus is apparently, like, way worse. Like, Seamus is worse. Don't forget about me. There may be a few more people coming, Neville says. Aberforth, be ready. Aberforth is super pleased. He's like,
yes.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I got you, bro.
He loves hosting.
Oh, he's super fan of it. He's like, man, can I just go to sleep?
He's got the charcuterie board ready.
He has the bread and the cheese out already. I'm just saying.
Gonna make some salami flowers to put next to it.
He does answer prudently with, there's a curfew in Hogsmeade, right? Like, I can't just have people walking in and out of my bar all night. And no. Neville's like, oh no, that's why they're going to be operating right inside. And Aberforth is like, I got to put up with these loud pops and cracks like all night.
Aberforth is like, I chose to not have children. Can you all stop, please?
If I were him, it'd be like loud pop, someone apparates. He's like, where they at? And he just grunts with like a point in the direction. He's like, ugh, over there.
He just puts up a sign.
Points a thumb.
Goes to bed.
Yeah, kind of. That's what I would do.
I have a question about this passageway magic situation. So, how did this exactly work? Has this passageway always been here?
No. So, I don't know how long it's been up there. Well, they kind of get into it a little bit. I think it's more the magic with the Room of Requirement. They ask Neville at some point, like, hey, we haven't ever seen this on the Marauders map.
Yeah.
This isn't one of the passages out of the castle. How did this come to be? And Neville eventually gets into an explanation of, at some point we're hiding out in this Room of Requirement, and we realized we need food. And then it came up with an option to go get food. The question I have is, and this is a little rhetorical because I know the answer, but why did it choose the Hog's Head and not the 3 broomsticks?
I know. It's because Aberforth already knew the end game.
Oh my gosh. We're right back into it. We're right back into our hot takes.
The whole purpose of the portrait was this passageway. Dumbledore already made it, cloaked it in magic so that it wouldn't show up on the map ever, knew that it would connect to the Room of Requirement, because Aberforth already knew that he might essentially have to be the hideout.
Wow,
It is the only place that Dumbledore knew could be trusted, so that's why he connected it there. He knew that his brother ran the Hog's Head.
We are not 5 minutes in, and you're throwing haymakers, tinfoil hat theories. Woo!
Makes sense.
I'm going to disagree. The answer to why it's the Hogshead and not the three broomsticks is, obviously, as we said in the last chapter, where did the 12 Death Eaters come running out of? The three broomsticks. Mm-hmm. They've clearly taken the three broomsticks to be their location. And we've talked about Hogwarts and the magic of Hogwarts almost being another character in its own sense.
Yeah.
Like, it has its own identity, it has its own sentience almost, where it can choose who it wants to help and win.
Yeah.
And the Room of Requirement is one of the most mysterious, crazy, unbelievable feats of imaginative magic there is in Hogwarts. No one truly understands it. Albus doesn't, Neville doesn't, and we get the comment later that he might understand the room more than any actual living person. Obviously, Harry has utilized the Room of Requirement on an epic level, so no one really knows how the Room of Requirement really works.
Except for Albus Dumbledore, who set up this passageway.
I think the room and the magic of Hogwarts has recognized three broomsticks, not an ally at the moment. Aberforth is an ally, member of the Order of the Phoenix, all of that. This is a safe out, and it connected there. I don't know why this just popped into my head, but I got the image now of that curfew charm going off in the three broomsticks, and Death Eaters sitting there, drinking their butterbeer, drinking their fire whiskey, having some food, hearing the alarm going, oh no, getting up and going run, and then going back to the table because they left their mask on, then they had to put their mask on, they had to put their cloak on, then they run back outside. Like, I just had that image for some reason. I don't know why. But anyway, no, I don't think Dumbledore Albus had this grand Room of Requirement escape hatch plan.
I think that he might have had it semi-figured out to go into Hogshead. Albus also seems to have a very strong connection to Hogwarts. I mean, obviously he was headmaster there, but like, he also seems to be one of the few who understands a lot more of the magic of Hogwarts that seems to be more mysterious to others. And so to me, it makes logical sense that you would essentially, if you're looking for help, you'd go to the person that Dumbledore would trust the most, his brother.
I think if you're going to try to make the argument that a headmaster of Hogwarts set up this emergency escape option, you'd have to go all the way back to whichever one of the founders or whichever one of the headmasters or whoever added the idea of the Room of Requirement. Or did Hogwarts magic just make it into existence of its own accord? Do you think there was actually a witch or wizard that added on the Room of Requirement, or do you think the magic of Hogwarts kind of blipped it into existence?
I think the magic of Hogwarts blipped it into existence, because I think if one of the headmasters or one of the founders specifically put it in there, it would be a lot more common knowledge. Like, look at the Chamber of Secrets. Like, yeah, it's not necessarily like everyone knew it existed before it opened, but like, you kind of knew the lore of it.
By the way, spoiler alert, this tunnel goes to the Room of Requirement if you hadn't caught on by now. Just realized we didn't technically set that up. But yes, the tunnel does go to the Room of Requirement. Anyway, Harry does say to Aberforth before going through the tunnel to the Room of Requirement, I don't know how to thank you. You saved our lives twice. One being obviously in the Malfoy Manor cellar, and obviously getting them inside the Hogshead tonight. Aberforth said, look after those two lives. I might not be able to save them a third. Which is kind of an ominous dismissal. The trio and Neville go through the portrait. And Neville explains to them that there is... He goes a little bit more into detail on the defenses around Hogwarts. He does mention the Dementors and the Death Eater patrols, but he also mentions that not only are the passages in and out of Hogwarts being watched, there are actually curses set about them, which is kind of a little added tweak to the defense. And Neville really doesn't even want to talk about Hogwarts. He doesn't want to talk about him. He wants to talk about them. Is it true you actually broke into Gringotts? Did you escape on an actual dragon? That is nuts. And apparently, Terry Boot, there's a name that doesn't get mentioned often, but Terry Boot was actually beat up for yelling about it in the Great Hall.
Which, like, Terry Boot, dumb move. Like...
I understand the excitement. Because, I mean, if I were a student at Hogwarts going through the actual awfulness that they're going through, if I hear this story, I am shouting it from the rooftops. This is crazy. It's literally crazy. There's no way it could possibly be true.
Yeah.
However, Harry says, yeah, that happened. Yeah, it kind of happened. It's true. And then Neville laughs gleefully, and it's one of those laughs that I think is so genuine and so unexpected that it almost sounds fake.
Well, and I also think that this conversation of the dragon and like, oh my god, is it true? Kind of like brings you back to, again, they're just 17-year-olds.
I don't care if you're 17 or if you're 45. Could you imagine if this group, if these 4 people survive whatever events are to come, if them sitting around the 3 broomsticks at 45 are being like, don't you remember when you flew out a dragon out of Gringotts? That's nuts.
Well, I mean,
like,
yeah, but I'm saying,
nuts.
like, I love that in this instance, like, knowing what's to come, especially from, like, the trio, like, you're having this conversation and the, like, yeah, we did it. It just kind of, like, brings back the fact that, like, you all are teenagers. And it kind of, like, gives me a little spark of joy in that moment.
It's the type of thing that is not only just going to be in a future history of magic book, it's going to be, like, a titular thing.
Yeah.
Not just a chapter, even. It's going to be, like, its own history book. Like, this... I mean, we got to take the event out. It's Gringotts. You broke into it. And you wrote out on it. It's sensational. I don't think we really honestly gave it as much love as we probably should have when we went over the chapter, but it's crazy. Anyway, he does continue to inform the trio about Hogwarts. He says the Carrows now are teaching, and they love to deal out some punishment. So much punishment that it actually makes Umbridge look tame.
Meh. I feel like that's... The thing is I feel like with Umbridge, a lot of people didn't actually know how terrible she was, which is what makes her worse than Voldy. Whereas the Carrows are very outright with their punishment and their torture, and I think you see that and you're like, wow, that is the worst thing that someone can go through. But so much of Umbridge's was like psychological warfare.
Yeah. Hers was more isolated, and at least from what we know with the quill and everything like that, it was relatively localized event. Whereas this is full scale, and they are doing not just like some torture with the quill and making your hand bleed and some scarring. This is like...
It's performative. Their torture is performative.
You're right. But it's performative with a consequence.
Yeah.
Like, there's some real damage being... Obviously, you look at Neville with gouges in his face.
Yeah.
Like, this is a little bit beyond I must not tell lies on the back of your hand. This is full scale, like...
Yeah.
Full-blown, not hiding it anymore. We're not even trying to hide it anymore. This is torture.
Yeah.
Amicus is the brother, and he teaches Defense Against the Dark Arts, a.k.a. the Dark Arts, as it has now been changed in the curriculum. And essentially, as Julie and I were just talking about, they are now practicing the Cruciatus Curse on people who earned detentions.
Ooh.
So, I mean, that's the standard now. We're just doing it. We're just doing it. Crabbe and Goyle are now earning top marks in a class. They theorize...
You know what? Good for Crabbe and Goyle for finally getting that A.
They have finally achieved outstanding. Well done. Oh, boy. Electo, the sister, teaches Muggle studies, which is now mandatory. You're probably thinking at this point, I'm sorry, what? Muggle studies is even still a subject? How? Well, it's because they've turned it into complete and utter propaganda. And they are starting to say things that are atrocious and go a little bit beyond even mundane racism and other things, which is what Neville alludes to. He's like, you don't understand what they're even saying. Like, I'm just telling you some basic stuff. I guarantee you wouldn't be able to just sit there and take it. And he got and he points to a particular slash on his face for asking how much Muggle blood the siblings have, meaning the Carrows. That on the level of takedowns in this series, it's pretty high up there.
Yep.
It's pretty high up there. One or two. It's one or two.
Love how, like, snarky and confident Neville has gotten. That, like, when you think of the growth from book 1, where it's like cowering and barely standing up to your friends, and really only standing up to your friends so that, like, you don't get into more trouble, and now it's like him going to people that he knows are causing literal harm, and it's just like, you know what you gonna do?
Well, there's some depth to that as well.
Yeah.
Ron says, dude, there's a time and place to, like, speak up. Like, that was a particularly, like, you knew what you were going to get saying that. Mm-hmm. And Neville says that people gain confidence by seeing others stand up. And he noticed that when he would see Harry do it. An example would be in Umbridge's class, for example.
Yeah.
And the thing about this that I want to just add in is, while we were having those moments of Harry standing up and saying something maybe out of line that would get himself in trouble, or get his friends in trouble, or get others in trouble just generally, is like, Harry, we would be like Ron sometimes on this podcast and be like, dude, you know, time and place, like be a little bit more strategic maybe about how we're building a resistance. But as Neville literally says here, him doing that, him taking those actions, has inspired others to take those actions. And also to something from this book during camping, when we see Dirk Cresswell and Ted Tonks talking about Harry. And what Dirk Cresswell wants is a more visible Harry. He wants Harry to be more visible so he can lead and be out front. And, you know, Ted Tonks correctly, I think, it reiterates all the points of why Harry probably shouldn't be out front.
Yeah.
At least at this particular time. It also goes back to the whole Ministry and Harry thing, and the Ministry wanting Harry to be more visible, to be like, let's all gather around so we can then fight this real threat. And I love that Neville is the one to tell Harry this, of like, you meant a lot. You might not have known it at the time. You might not even realize how much you mean now, but you mean everything.
Yeah, well, and I also think, tying it into the, you know, should Harry help the Ministry and stuff like that, is I think that also Harry doing it and inspiring his fellow peers is a lot more effective, in my opinion, than trying to get him.
Yeah.
Well, and if you put him as the face of the Ministry, like, you're also inherently going to get all of these adults who are like, I'm not listening to some 16-year-old kid. It's essentially like he was the hero that's relatable. They saw a fellow student stand up, so they went, wait a minute, he did it, I can do it. Versus, you know, you see a 16-year-old speak out and you're 42 and you're gonna go, kid, sit down.
To that point, I will give you this, that Harry's best moments I would argue, throughout the entire series, no matter what the situation. But particularly in this moment with what Neville is referring to, Harry's best moments are in the spur of the moment, when he just doesn't think, he just does. When he hears something that he doesn't like and he snaps back, that's his most inspiring. So if, to your point, if the Ministry is like, okay, we got Harry, we can coalesce everybody, put Harry out there, and you go like give him a speech to say or something, it's going to be so much less effective than if something happened and you just so happen to catch him off the side in a candid moment of him just reacting and snapping. And then it's almost to cross fandoms here, and I don't love this character in literature, so this pains me a little bit to compare the two. It's almost like Katniss Everdeen in The Hunger Games, where you give her a speech and you set her up and it's awful and it falls flat and it's blah.
Yep.
But when she's caught in a moment and she's passionate, that's the magic where people get inspired. So to your point, it is a little bit like that.
Yeah.
But I guess I just love that Neville is illustrating, like, Harry, you mean a lot. You inspire others to stand up against this.
Well, and I also think that that's an important thing for Harry to hear, too. Not that Harry needs his ego inflated or anything, but also just thinking of how Harry was raised at the Dursleys, where it's like, you know, he made a snarky comment and he was punished, but it didn't change anything for him. And it makes me wonder if now that he's in the wizard, like, he entered the wizarding world with pretty much automatic respect of almost everyone. You know, minus Malfoy or Snape, but like for the vast majority of the wizarding world, he came back and it was like, that's Harry Potter.
Even Draco was like that at the beginning until he spurned him.
And so it's like when you now have a voice that's listened to, and it makes me wonder if spending all those years with the Dursleys being, you know, pushed under the stairs, told his voice doesn't matter, punished because he used his voice, like, he's already used to the consequences at this point. So when he has Umbridge saying something and he speaks up, what does he have to lose at this point? The kid has faced death a dozen times by now, and his entire childhood was essentially him being told, like, all right, get back in your lockbox under the stairs. Yeah. So I think, as terrible as his upbringing is, and I hate to give the Dursleys, like, credit for anything, but, like, their treatment of Harry also kind of shaped who Harry was and helped him it helped make him inspiring.
We are not advocating abuse or child abuse.
Yes, correct.
Anyway.
We are not. But I think in this instance, Harry being able to stand up, like, I think if the Dursleys were warm and welcoming and treated Harry like an actual son, this right here would have never happened, because Harry would have never needed to speak out or speak for himself or feel like he has nothing left to lose.
It's a moment that I know Harry's uncomfortable feeling, because he doesn't really view himself in that inspirational leader mentality, which we saw in Order of the Phoenix, obviously, with him being like, am I really the guy to teach this class? You know, but it's those kind of people that are the best leaders, when they don't aspire to have the power, when they're just given it because others are inspired by them. But anyway, Harry, hearing all of what Neville is saying, the good and the bad, is unsure what actually is worse. The things Neville says about Hogwarts and how it's being run currently, or the very chill, mundane tone with which he's saying them. The very blasé, like, matter-of-fact, yeah, kind of is what it is. No, this should not be what it is. Like, this is insane. But here we are. And Neville, again, to your point of, you know, speaking up to the Carrows and being like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? He says he knows he's never in real danger because he's pureblood. and they don't really want to spill a whole lot of actual magical blood. So he knows they're just going to rough him up. Probably a lot, but they're just going to rough him up. Unless people outside start causing problems. And then, he gives the example of Xenophilius, and Luna gets snatched from the train. And then now they're starting to use people as chess pieces and, to try to gain an advantage on someone else.
Yeah, well, and I think the smart thinking from Neville's perspective, too, is he's saying that they're not going to spill magical blood, but it's not just that they need the pure blood witch or wizard. They need them to be physically relatively okay, because the reason that they're keeping purebloods is to make more purebloods.
Right.
So they're not even going to go as far as to, like, torture Neville to the extent that they did his parents, for example.
Right.
Because they need him to be of enough of a sound mind and body to be able to reproduce and continue the line.
Do you think now, given what the goals are, that Bellatrix torturing the Longbottoms was like, anybody else in the Death Eaters went like, a little too far there, little much on the purebloods?
I don't think so.
I mean, they were both Oars hunting Death Eaters.
Yeah, which I think, like, at that point, that's the reason why they're like, whatever.
Fair game
but
at that point.
But then, once you get to this point, like, you've also had another generation, potentially 2 generations, that could have, diluted the bloodstream. So at this point, like, you're getting, I mean, it's been called out pointless times throughout the series that there's fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer purebloods that, like, now, like, unless you're marrying your cousin.
And that's what, Neville calls the Carrows out for. It's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, how much Muggle blood do you guys have? Because I bet you have a little bit, don't you?
And so when you're looking from that perspective, like, Neville also has to have that level of confidence of the, like, listen, you might cause bruises, you might break a bone, there might be scrapes, but I know you're not going to permanently maim me, and I know you're not going to kill me because I'm legitimately pure blood, which means you need me, and you need me to, be mentally and physically fit enough to be able to
produce more purebloods.
Purebloods, and for you to be able to, like, convince me that I should.
So they do try to reassure Neville that Luna is in fact okay, given the whole Xenophilius incident. But Neville's like, oh, no. We talk. We're good. She sent me a message. You remember those gold coins from the DA? So
can we talk about that those things are still working?
Great magic. Great magic from Hermione on that. So it's how they also would sneak out from the room of requirement or in their dormitories when they were still in their dorms and do graffiti. They would...
I love this so much.
They would put up... this is what I love. I mean, they would put up things like Dumbledore's Army, which is great and standard. My personal favorite is the still recruiting bit. I'm like, how snarky is that? Dumbledore's Army, still recruiting.
Okay, that was 1,000% Ginny's idea. Like, think about everyone in the DA and who would be like, Dumbledore's Army, still recruiting. Like, that just screams Ginny Weasley to me.
I don't know. Luna is a master marketer. I think she can come up with some real good slogans.
They wouldn't even be able to read the graffiti because it would be such a long explanation.
Still recruiting. We actually are really fond of saying bad things about Death Eaters. And by the way, do you know about Crumplehorn Snorkax and how they blah, 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 blah.
Dumbledore's Army. We have Nargles.
Luna and Ginny are now gone. And Neville and Michael Corner have been tortured so badly for some of their more recent offenses that the movement has quieted a bit. They're unable to pull off such grand stunts in the hallways of Hogwarts. Neville does say that Michael Corner, for example, was caught releasing a chained-up first year.
But good intentions, bad execution.
Well, clearly because he got caught.
Well, yeah, but it's just like, of all the things that you're going to do to try to help and take a stand, like, you're essentially opening up the jail cell of a high security prison.
I mean, let's not gloss over the fact that they are now literally chaining up people. That is insane.
Which has happened before.
A long time ago.
To me, the thing that, like, you know, makes me, like, face palm this situation is you're at Hogwarts, which you can't really leave Hogwarts.
Not easily.
And so...
Especially now.
Yeah, and so it's like, I get that you don't want that first year to be chained up or tortured and you're trying to help them, but you didn't actually help them, because by unchaining them, where are they going to go?
Probably to, I would assume, hopefully here.
Yeah, but it's like, they're going to go back to their common room and then they're going to get dragged out of bed and
Probably.
the same thing and worse is going to happen. Like, this is like Harry Potter level dumb.
But what are you going to do? I mean, you can't let the kid be chained up.
Well,
I mean, come on. You got to rescue the kid.
But there's smarter ways to do it.
My question about this whole thing is, obviously we've heard about chaining students up before from Filch. Mm-hmm. So I have a two-pronged question for you. Mm-hmm. Question number one. Filch in this whole thing. I would assume he is the one that chained up this first year because he's talked about it. But is it one of those situations with Filch that he's talked about it, threatened about it. But when it came time to actually do it, do you think Filch backs away from that, or do you think he leans into it?
Backs away.
So you think he's all talk, and then when it actually comes time to do something actually egregiously horrendous, he backs off of it?
I think that deep down, Filch actually cares about the students and the kids a lot.
I'm surprised you have the stake, actually.
And
I don't disagree, but I'm just surprised you're...
That he loves Hogwarts, and Hogwarts meaning the castle, not the environment.
Sure.
But, like, he loves the castle and loves taking care of it, and seeing these kids, like, do things to essentially harm the castle, whether it's, you know, smoke bombs or graffiti or whatever. He hates that disrespect and wishes that he could do more. And I think that there's also the part of him being a squib that plays into that as well, that, like, magically he can't do anything to stop them. I think that when it would turn into one of those where they're like, all right, chain him up by the ankles, and he'd be like, wait, what?
We're actually doing this now?
And it's like, you like the idea of you're no longer powerless, like, you're the one, like, in control, in command, but then, like, once it happens, you're like, wait, the 11-year-old?
This worked great as a threat. I don't actually want to do it.
Yeah, like, I think he talks the big game so that no one, like, realizes he cares.
So
think about how much he loves Miss Norris. I think that extends to the students and stuff as well, but he's never going to show that because that also makes him more vulnerable than he already is as a squib at Hogwarts.
Yeah, I don't disagree, actually. That was the argument that I was actually going to pull out. I just thought you were going to go the other way. I don't know why.
That's it, guys. We're ending the podcast. Julie and Dan actually agree on something Dan thought we would fight about.
Yep, miracles happen.
We're ending here. Sorry.
Well, this part 2 of this question is going to now go a different direction because... But I'll now put it as a hypothetical since we both don't think it's actually a thing. Hypothetically, if Filch did lean into it, and this was his true nature, and he's like, great, I finally get to follow through on all these threats. There's punishments for him down the future. Like, if this thing doesn't go Voldy's way, he's going to end up in Azkaban, right?
I would assume so.
Like, he doesn't get to keep this job. He's out.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Especially with Dumbledore gone, so there's no one that's really that figurehead that people are going to be like, oh, wait. Like, think about Dumbledore with Snape. Everything that Snape has done in the past, everyone's like, but Dumbledore vouched for him. We're good, guys.
Yeah.
And without someone similar to Dumbledore, like, no one's going to be like, yeah, give him a second chance. He was just, doing what needed to be done.
I think if Filch were to lean in to all these punishments, he's got to be all in on the Voldy train. Otherwise, it could turn really bad for him afterwards. But anyway, so Neville ends up saying that to try to stop him specifically, they thought of the reverse option. Neville obviously had to go into hiding at some point because he was the focus of a lot of this, and everybody knew he was a leader of this movement. So he had to eventually go into full hiding. To draw him out of hiding, the Death Eaters tried to employ the reverse of what they had done with the Xenophilius and Luna situation. They tried to go after his Gran. However, they didn't think very much of Gran.
Idiots.
In her elderly age, home alone, they thought, oh, we can deal with this pretty simply. So they sent Dawlish. And Dawlish, still in St. Mungo's after this attempt. Gran is on the run.
Okay, I find it hilariously idiotic that they underestimated Gran, knowing who her son is. I get that Neville does not have a great, reputation of being, an amazing...
It's ascending, yeah.
Wizard, but knowing who her son is... I mean, there might be some of they think they can do it because Frank and Alice are in St. Mungo's. I could see that they're like, oh, we already beat them, so... But at the same time, they were phenomenal...
Aurors, yeah.
Aurors, and you're just like, yeah, I don't know where they got it from. Go get the old lady.
Well, I think it's a little bit of ageism on their parts, where they think because she's elderly, she's not in her prime anymore.
Well, but also think of the reputation of Neville's Gran at Hogwarts, where everyone's like, ooh, she's something. There's no part of you that's at least a little scared.
So I'm going to pose a similar question that I just posed about Filch. Dawlish here, the role of Dawlish. So previously, we've had notes that the Order of the Phoenix has considered him confunded. Not normal. He's been tampered with. Mm-hmm. They don't consider him evil, and they don't consider him part of the movement, because he was an Auror.
Yeah.
He is an Auror. He still is an Auror. But they just view him as being tampered with. So... do you think... I'm going to try to give Dawlish credit here, because I feel like Dawlish is the one individual in this series that always gets pummeled. Relentlessly, every time. But do you think his lack of success in the later books, 5, 6, 7, is because he's been confunded? He's been tampered with?
Potentially.
Because he's still a trained Auror that's gone through the necessary additional training. He must have been a talented student.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I'm trying to give Dawlish a bump here because, try it. It can't be that he's that incompetent, even though that's how it comes across.
Well, it could also be not that he's incompetent, but that
he can still get beat here. No, I
underestimated.
I agree with you. Grant could still be better than.
Yeah.
But I just feel bad for Dawlish that he's always the one to just get destroyed. And I'm like, it makes him look incompetent. I can't imagine he is.
To be fair, every single Death Eater has their moment where they're incompetent.
And he gets put in some tough situations, too. He was sent to go arrest Dumbledore. That's not going to end well for him. He was sent to subdue Hagrid. Not going to end well for him. There are some hard situations he's been put in.
Yeah.
But, I think maybe the idea that he's not 100% also factors in just a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, Gran is on the run. And she has since sent a letter, which Neville keeps close in his breast pocket, that she's proud of Neville, and he's truly his parents' son. Keep it up.
Oh, I just love that so much.
It's great. I mean, it's just objectively awesome. And knowing what Neville has been through, and Neville has one of the sneaky good arcs in this series that's sensational. And this is one of those moments. Even the detail, like the small things with Neville are what make it.
Yeah.
Because like him pocketing the wrapper from his parents, him putting it in his breast pocket close to his heart because it means that much to him. Mm-hmm. It's the little details with Neville that make him so amazing.
Well, and I think the nice thing with Neville's arc too is that he starts out through most of the series of everyone sitting there being like, what the heck are you doing in Gryffindor? Yeah. And as we start getting into 5 through 7, I think you slowly start seeing the little bits of like, oh, look at you. Look at this. And then it's like you get to this where now he's essentially
leader of a resistance.
Leading Dumbledore's army.
Yeah.
Gran is on the run because of him. Not because she's Frank and Alice's mom and mother-in-law, but because her 17-year-old kid is causing so many issues for Death Eaters that she now has to go on the run. Now all of a sudden, like, you get to this Neville and you're like, I see the Gryffindor.
It's almost that trope of like, just get through high school. High school's always rough. Just get through high school, get to college, find out who you really are, and be you. But I think Neville, we're really seeing just the culmination of a great story arc for him. And this is a great moment for him. So, and I'm glad we're able to end on a happy, uplifting moment in part 1 of this chapter.
Me too.
We'll be right back. Before we get to our break sound, I'd like to acknowledge our friend Andy, who helps us produce our intros and our break sounds. If you want to hear more of Andy's work and like Formula One racing, check out the Outlap F1 podcast. It's your one-stop shop for Formula One news, insights, race previews, and reviews. You can find them wherever you listen to podcasts, and they even have a YouTube page. So check out Andy, Cody, John, James, and Deanna, and join them on the Outlap.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online, Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
Dobby has no master. Dobby is a free elf.
All right, we are back with part 2 of chapter 29, The Lost Diadem. We might even get reference to the Lost Diadem in this part. Yeah, maybe. But anyway, we have reached the end of the long tunnel that was behind Ariana's portrait. Neville pushes open the door, and before, I feel like there's such a build of excitement in Neville where he's like, I cannot wait to announce what I'm about to announce. Like, he's almost like, I feel like my imagination is he's almost shielding them so no one can get a spoilery look before he gets the glory of announcing. But he's like, look who it is! Didn't I tell you? And then screams and yells greet Harry, Ron, and Hermione. I'll say, before we get too far into this is probably a section of the book that I reread the most. I love like these interactions through the next couple of chapters. It's just great to see Harry, in a way, kind of get his flowers a little bit.
Yeah.
After all of the trials and tribulations he's been through, especially in like books 4 and 5, where he's just been such a pariah in his own school. And now he's literally being greeted by cheers and screams and yells and hugs as he returns to Hogwarts. It's a really nice full circle feeling I get with Harry. But obviously all three of them are engulfed by all of those hugs and handshakes. And Harry guesses that maybe it's about 20, maybe a little bit more than 20 people in this room. And some of the people that he spots or recognizes specifically, obviously we have Neville, we have Seamus, Lavender Brown, the Patil twins, Terry Boot, Ernie Macmillan, Anthony Goldstein, and Michael Corner.
Question for you. Now that the Carrows have taken over Hogwarts, is Gryffindor like 2 people? It's McGonagall and
Probably.
2 students. Like,
Probably.
can you imagine the Sorting Hat says Gryffindor and then they're like, nope, do it again.
There's no chance. I feel like every older student in Gryffindor has to be here.
Yeah.
The only ones left in Gryffindor are probably like year 3 and younger.
Yeah.
Like all of the older students have got to be here because they'd be the most rebellious, you think. Because they probably know Harry the most and whatever. But anyway, that's the group. They entered a large room with a bunch of hammocks everywhere, and they noticed that there are 3 large banners hung in this room. One is the Gryffindor banner, one is the Ravenclaw banner, and one is the Hufflepuff banner. There's one conspicuously missing.
I wonder why.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why that one of the 4 would be not present. But anyway, they are in, as we've kind of spoiled earlier on in great lengths, we're in the room of requirement. And Seamus fawns over Neville a little bit and says, Neville just gets this room. He understands this room. And he's made it essentially impenetrable as long as one person remains in it, which is an interesting kind of loophole that Neville has closed. He's closed all of the loopholes, seemingly, with this room.
I love that, like, Neville has essentially become the trio in their absence. Like, he has taken over as leader from Harry. He has, like, kind of the comedic relief quality of Ron, because he's still very lighthearted about all of this and figuring out how to close the loopholes, taking over that like aspect of what Hermione's job has always been. Like, I just kind of love that in the absence of the trio, like Neville has kind of taken a little bit of what he's learned from each of his friends to help make him better and make him the like leader that he needs to be in this movement.
I think Neville is that perfect example of what an introvert can be, because he's always been deferential. He's always taken a back seat to the more famous, well-liked, popular individuals, of Harry, Ron, and Hermione who get a lot of the shine. And he's taking a back seat. That doesn't mean he hasn't been observing and watching and seeing how they do it and what they do and what makes them the way they are. And not necessarily with the intent of being able to step into that role, but now, and he gets to this a little bit later, he didn't have a choice. They're gone. He has to step into that role.
Yeah, and I appreciate that it really highlights how much of an effect, like, friends can have on you as a person.
Oh, yeah.
That, don't get me wrong, the trio has always kind of shown that they, like, need each other to, like, survive, essentially. But I don't think that we see a lot in this series the impacts made to, like, change yourself and better yourself based on who your friends are.
I think 2 of the best things from this book that gets overlooked too often is what you're talking about with Neville. And then you also see it with another secondary character, Luna. When you go to the Xenophilius home, the Lovegood home, and you see Luna's bedroom, and she's decorated it with friends, and what that means to her, and what these people mean to her, friends can be empowering and, to an extent, life-saving in a way.
Yeah.
And they could be your shelter, your safety, your empowerment. They can be a lot of things, and that's what we're seeing here, I think. Neville says that he has closed a lot of the loopholes. The one thing he hasn't been able to figure out is it can't create food. We need food. And that's when he gets into the explanation of, well, entrance to the Hog's Head opened up, and that's how Aberforth has been supplying us with nourishment and all that kind of good stuff. Lots of bread, lots of cheese, lots of meat. And when he says that the room can't create food, Ron chips in. For the first time in a minute, we haven't heard Ron in a minute since that wonderful slippage with Aberforth about the Patronus in the last chapter. But Ron chips in well here with, oh yeah, well, you know, the reason it can't create food is it's one of the 5 exceptions of Gant's law of elemental transfiguration.
Ron, what?
Duh.
What in the Hermione is this, Ron?
I like how it follows this up with, to a room that is like generally astonished. They're like, oh wow, that was smart.
I'm also just imagining Hermione in this moment, because you know as soon as they said it, she was about to say the same thing, and then Ron says it, and it's a mix of like shock and like also like anger that she didn't get to say it and he beat her to it, but also the like, that's right, that's my man, he knows what he's talking about.
It's probably a mixture of the 3.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see that. So Neville continues that they've been hiding in here for about 2 weeks, generally. And as people keep coming to the room for refuge, the room keeps adding hammocks as they go. And then one of the girls chips in, oh yeah, there's also a bathroom because you guys are gross.
Yeah, okay, can we talk about how the bathroom only showed up when the girls came? There was like some bucket situation or something. And then a girl came into the room of requirement, and the room of requirement was like, nah, I got you, girl. This bathroom probably now has like marble. And
it seemed to have sprouted a pretty good bathroom when the girls arrived. So
thank you, room of requirement.
Yeah. It was probably a pretty rough existence there for a little bit. I hope it like self-ventilates so it can get some of the air moving out of there, because yeah, it'd probably be rough. Neville's looking pretty rough. But anyway, Ernie McMillan. Hey, Ernie McMillan. Here we go. Ernie McMillan asks if they actually did break into Green Gods, which Neville cuts across and was like, they did! Can you believe it?
I love that Neville's like, I'm part of this group, guys. Let me tell the story.
He's so amped to tell everybody their business. It's great. But as that conversation is beginning, Harry gets a sharp pain. And he sees Voldy, or he sees through Voldy, standing in a ruined shack, the ring gone. And Voldy is not happy. So Harry looks at Ron and Hermione's like, yo, we gotta move. Like, we gotta get on this. To which they understand. And he gets to the point. There's something we need to do, and then we're getting out of here. And the room gets quiet, and they're like, what do you mean getting out of here? We're fighting, right? Like, we're in this to win it, right?
My favorite part is when they ask Harry what the plan is, and I'm like, guys, come on. You've known Harry for a while now. There is no plan. The plan is do.
Well, he also can't tell them what he needs either.
Oh, well, true.
So the DA is like, I'm sorry, what do you mean you can't tell us?
Well, but also think about it from their perspective. They're assuming that the trio is coming to save Hogwarts.
That's the assumption made, yes.
Like, if they're out battling Death Eaters, battling Voldemort, and then they show back up at Hogwarts, I mean, what would you think? You wouldn't think like, oh, clearly it's part of the battle with Voldy. They're like, no, they finally have time to come and help us and to help protect Hogwarts. So I get it. They all think that, like, the general has come to lead the troops.
I mean, they literally say the words, we are loyal to Albus, we're loyal to you.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, panicking aside and everything that's starting to ramp up in Harry's head aside, that's a hell of a thing to hear. Like, that is a crazy thing to hear.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, you have a bunch of people, your peers, saying that they are now loyal to you. That's a crazy thing to hear. But yeah, they're not super receptive to being told no. And as Harry's formulating a response to all of that, the door opens behind him. And Luna and Dean pop in. Seamus and Dean have a moment, which is really nice, too, by the way.
That's cute.
Let's not gloss over the bro moment that happened there. But Harry is like, what are you two doing here? Why are you here? And Neville's like, oh, no, I sent them a message. Like, we're good. I'm sorry, you sent them what? Why? And then it kind of, like, progresses down to, like, no, if you returned, like Julie, you said, this means revolution. Like, we're taking back Hogwarts. And Harry's like, no, that is not at all what this means. I'm here to do a job and get out. And then Michael Corner pipes up, and specifically the word is demands. He demands, you're not going to leave us in this mess. Whew. That is some fire being brought their way. Neville also, for the record, also becomes angry with them. And is like, what are you telling me? I have done everything. I've picked up the mantle that you have left.
Yeah, well, and I think it's also got to be hard, too, because they've all been in the situation. They've all been fighting. And then all of a sudden to have Harry come back and be like, yeah, no, I don't need you guys. And I'm not actually here to help you. Like, it's very much giving end of Order of the Phoenix with the, like, we got to break into the ministry. No, not you guys. Me.
Yeah, it's giving those same vibes. Obviously, they went. This is obviously different
well, and I
for a
feel
lot
like
of reasons.
At that point, it's the, like, you're naive and you're like, no, this is what we were training for. Let's go. But, like, now at this point, like, they have got to be, like, not just frustrated, but enraged because at this point, they're the ones that are leading the resistance. They're essentially waiting for him to come for them to push it to win it. And for him to come in and be like, yeah, I'm not here for you. Like, talk about a slap in the face when you all just said, like, hey, we're loyal to Albus, we're loyal to you. Like, let's do this, bro. And you're like, yeah, I'm not here to help you guys.
The surprises don't stop coming because Ginny, Fred, and George, and Lee.
Yes!
Ginny, Fred, George, and Lee Jordan all appear behind Harry. And Ginny gives Harry a radiant smile.
Get it, girl.
Which
I love Ginny Weasley.
He looks at Ginny and he thinks, I've either forgotten or completely underappreciated just how beautiful she actually is. So it's a really nice Ginny Harry moment right there. Speaking of Ginny and Harry and having a thing, Harry's past thing also shows up. Cho Chang appears next. And Harry actually says, this is insane. What are we doing? And before we get to Ron and Hermione's response, I want to kind of respond to what you're saying with, the DA stepping up and being like, why can't we be involved? Why shouldn't we be taking back Hogwarts and blah, 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 blah. I think it was unwise without hearing from Harry first as to why he's actually showing up to Hogwarts to start contacting people and bringing people in. And I say that because the more people you bring in, it starts to be a slippery slope of you're starting to turn a page that you can't turn back.
I understand the assumption, though, because when Harry has been on the run and he is now coming to a very public place, not that Hogwarts is public, but you take my point. I understand that the assumption is if Harry has come back, it means we're fighting, which means we need to call the people now, not 10 minutes from now.
The assumption, I agree with you. It's a fair assumption to make, but like I just feel like this is a slippery slope of once people start showing up.
But again, they're teenagers. At this point, not only are they ready to full-on lead the revolution, but also, like, that's their friends. Their friends are finally back, and their friends are alive. So, yeah, of course you're going to call everyone.
The next thing, and this is what I think Harry is thinking of, is like, okay, so let's play this out, Neville. Let's play, and I'm not, like, hating on Neville here. I understand where his thought process is. But from Harry's point of view, And what Harry's thinking here and why he thinks this is insane is like, let's play this out a little bit. You want to take back Hogwarts. You think that's just going to be okay with people? You think that's going to be okay with the Death Eater? Like, if we do this, this is it.
Yeah.
Like, there is no, oh, our bad, let's just slink on back to the room of requirement. No. If this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And, like, Harry's like, this is not what I want right now. I want to face Voldy or other Death Eaters on my terms. I don't want to be thrust into something that I'm not fully prepared for. Mentally, physically, I haven't slept in like 24 hours. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Like, I need a time out here. Let's just do what we got to do and get out and reorganize.
Yeah.
Like, he's trying to think like Hermione would, but he's being forced to actually think like Harry normally thinks.
But I think he's actually kind of acting more like Albus. Because
Maybe.
he's being very secretive about the actual intent, doesn't really want to fully trust anyone. But then Harry also has to remember that Dumbledore fully trusted Snape, and Snape
Betrayed him.
And so I think you have all of that running through Harry's mind of the like, yes, I do have essentially an army here to help me, but I'm putting them all at risk. But also, if I put trust in them to have them help me with what I'm actually here for, is one of them the one that's going to stab me in the back?
I think it's one of those things where he came here for a specific thing. One specific thing. And now he's got 20 plus other things to now consider. And that list is growing by the second. Mm-hmm. And again, tired, exhausted. He's been through a lot. And he's just trying to like, I have more and more problems being added to my list as the moments continue.
Yeah.
We need to stop and think about this and maybe not just go rush into something. And I get where Neville and where his head was at, because he's been fighting this fight for a minute at Hogwarts and he's ready to end the fight. But what he doesn't see is there's a larger war at play. That are we ready to make this our last stand? Because I think that's where Harry is viewing it as, is like, whoa, this is moving a bit fast. And if we do one thing, then we got a bunch of other things coming our way. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But anyway, Ron and Hermione do step in, and they're like, hey, maybe they can help. You don't have to do everything alone, Harry.
I mean, Harry never really does anything alone.
Yes. Not necessarily by choice all the time, though. Yeah. He's not actively making the choice to bring other people in. This would be actively making the choice of, I am putting other people at risk for me.
Yeah.
Whereas most of the time, yes, he's getting help, but it's other people dictating, I am helping you, you don't have a choice here.
Yeah, which, to be fair, is what would happen here if Ron and Hermione weren't like, Harry, let them help. They were going to help anyway.
There are probably ways, honestly, if they had the time to figure this out, but they don't have the time because, again, Harry's, got that link to Voldy, and it's like, oh, he just found out that the shack is no good.
Yeah.
That means he is going to redouble his speed of checking these things out. We're on a real time limit here. So it's interesting how we've kind of built this action sequences.
Yeah.
But anyway, Harry's like, oh, okay. If there's somebody I trust, it's Ron and Hermione. They've gotten me here. If they think this is the way to go, I will put my faith in them. Okay. And then he addresses the room. As he addresses the room, all of these voices go silent, which is an achievement when you have Fred, George, and Lee cracking jokes in a corner. It's an achievement, but even they silence themselves to hear what Harry has to say. There's something we need at Hogwarts. We don't know where. We don't exactly know what, but it might have belonged to Ravenclaw. Thoughts, anybody? Anybody? You?
Also,
you?
Could you
Anybody?
imagine being everyone else in the room that they're like, Harry's here. It's on a mission. It's to save us. And then Harry's like, I'm actually here for something else. It's a thing that's in a place that might be here. Any chance you guys know? I feel like at that point I'd be like, Bro, are you kidding me right now? Like, you don't even know what you're looking for, and you didn't think to poll the audience here?
This is another reason why, if you're Neville, you don't sound all of the alarms immediately. But
it's a good thing that he did sound the alarm, otherwise they still wouldn't have known what they were looking for.
Well, they still really don't know what they're looking for. So, obviously, Harry does point out the Ravenclaws, and was like, we think it's Ravenclaw.
Who wouldn't have been there if Neville hadn't sounded the alarm?
Well, Cho wasn't going to be there, Luna wasn't going to be there, but you still had Michael Corner, and you still had a couple of Ravenclaws, but yeah.
The ones who answer the question,
I'm sure,
are Luna and Cho. Yeah,
so Luna is the one to answer first, and she's like, oh, well, there's the lost diadem. Corner jumps in right after that, being like, it's the lost diadem because it's lost. Luna, come on. And Harry's like, okay, that's fine. I get that it's lost. When was it lost? Which was a great question.
Yeah, that was actually a really smart question for Harry.
It's a very smart question. And Cho says it's been lost for centuries, and Flitwick has even thought it has been lost since Ravenclaw herself has passed. Well, that's a problem, because that's a long time. I think it was Ron who specifically asked, can I even ask, what is a diadem? Is that a fair question? Can I ask that question? What's a diadem? And they say it's a crown. It's essentially like a crown.
Also, I feel like it's only called a diadem because, like, if you say, like, she lost her crown, it feels like it's a big, like, you know, Queen Elizabeth, like, massive, like, coronation crown.
Yeah. No
one would take this whole side quest seriously if they're like, we're looking for a crown, or we're looking for a tiara. Like, I feel like diadem is just specifically a, like, so that nobody laughs at what we're looking for.
It sounds more impressive, for sure. It sounds more impressive. But yeah, they clarify it's a crown, and Cho is like, hey, you know, there's an example of what it looks like in the Ravenclaw common room. I can go take you. I could show you. Ginny's like, no, you will not. Luna is going to go with her. Thank you very much.
I love Ginny so much. I love that she's just like, yeah, no, Luna will take him. It makes a lot of sense, though, because, like, when you think of any of Harry and Cho's, like, interactions, they're always so emotion-filled. And so, like, listen, I'm not saying that that's why Ginny did it. Ginny straight up did it because she was like,
jealousy.
There is no way his ex-girlfriend is going with
My
him.
man is not gonna go.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It also logically makes sense. Luna might be off on her own little planet sometimes, but, like, she's gonna go and get it done. Whereas, like, Cho will probably start crying while they're walking.
That is rough on Cho. She has literally come back here to fight. Like, literally the message was like, hey, we're taking back Hogwarts. And she came to fight.
Or she came to see Harry again.
I mean, probably a little bit of both. Probably a little bit, if we're being honest. But still, I mean, you're gonna risk your life to try to get your old flame back. That's a big risk.
Maybe.
But anyway, Neville shows them the exit that will lead them out to somewhere. They don't really know. It drops them off somewhere different each time. That is, again, the room being like, okay, we can't do it at the same place because they'll obviously figure that out, and then they'll be camped there. We gotta switch this up a little bit.
I want to know how that works. Like, so one, does the room automatically have them exit where it knows there isn't patrol currently happening? And two, how do you get back into the room then?
I'd imagine you have to end up back at the entrance, maybe? I don't know. I would assume it'd be back at the entrance.
Yeah.
Because the wall solidifies right behind them. Also, before we get too far from it, this scene actually in the movie is done really, really well. So the point that you made of, like, I'm sorry, you don't know what you're looking for or where it is done really, really well. They're like, that's not much to go on.
Yeah.
Like, it's done really well in the movie, just for the record. But yeah, the room of requirement is a little tricky. On purpose, that's the point of it. Mm-hmm. And that's how Neville has designed this particular setup, which is awesome. But anyway, Harry and Luna head off to the Ravenclaw common room. They appear out of the room of requirement on the 5th floor. Harry pulls out the Marauders map. They are under the invisibility cloak, just to be clear. He pulls out the Marauders map to guide their way and avoiding other people. I love how his big concern is Peeves. I truthfully do not think Peeves would do anything. Okay, seriously, can we have a Peeves tangent here for a second?
Always.
So Peeves, are we sure Peeves is okay? because okay, this is what I'm thinking. He's not invulnerable. He's not invincible.
Yeah.
Like Lupin shot a thing of like gum at him or whatever.
Yeah.
To like shut him up at some point. Like he's capable of being wrangled in. And he cannot have been perfect this year.
Perfect.
He has probably been causing all sorts of havoc. And I'm sorry, do you think the Carrows are just going to let that happen? They're going to come after Peeves.
But also, like, what all can you actually do to a ghost, though?
Well, he's not a ghost, but he's a poltergeist. So, I mean, like, you can do stuff to him. There's probably charms and stuff in place where you can, like, immobilize him? Quiet him at the very least.
Had an exorcism at Hogwarts.
Kinda, right? But I'm a little worried for Peeves. I'm not gonna lie, a little worried. But anyway, that was my Peeves tangent for all you Peeves fans out there. I know you're out there. They arrive at the Ravenclaw Tower, which in Hogwarts Legacy, I obviously was a Ravenclaw, and everything that you're about to see right now that I'm going to describe is gorgeous in the game. It is stunning. Just saying that. But they arrive at a door that does not have a handle. It has a bronze eagle knocker. Luna's hand ghostly comes out of the invisibility cloak, so it's just like a pale white hand floating in the air, knocks the knocker, and then the eagle beak speaks. And it comes out with the riddle, which came first, the phoenix or the flame?
Talk about the most annoying password on the planet.
Says the Gryffindor.
That would be so... Like, imagine you have a long day and you're just super burned out, and then all you want to do is go and lay in bed, and instead it's like, hey, answer this riddle. I would be so mad.
It would be really rough sometimes if you were just doing it individually, if you were, like, the only one there. I'm hoping most times, like, a class is getting back or your Quidditch team is getting back and it's multiple people, so if you're particularly like not clicking really well, then someone else can answer it, and then depending on how they answered it, you might be able to, you know, maneuver an answer and maybe get it.
Also, does that mean that your password changes every single time?
Maybe.
Because otherwise, how does the password work?
Also, so if you like went away from the door, like if you got it wrong, how long does that, like, lock you out for? Is it, like, an hour? Do you just leave, come back, do it again? Different riddle?
I'm confused because...
Same riddle? I don't know.
I think they make a point of... Harry's like, what if you get it wrong? And Luna's like, you just wait for another Ravenclaw who gets it right. So it's like, how frequently does the riddle change? Is it every day? Can you imagine, like, if you're, like... hitting the butterbeer a little too hard, and then you come back and this bronze eagles has what came first, the phoenix or the flame? Like,
I just mentioned Hogwarts Legacy. I'm actually really disappointed that the only time they ever actually have you answer a riddle is the first time you enter the common room. They don't actually, like, do it every single time. That's a bummer. I would have actually liked to try to do it every time. But anyway.
Yeah, but, I mean...
I am a Ravenclaw. I think it's cool. You're clearly on the Gryffindor
God,
side.
I think it's so annoying. I would be so irritated. Or, like, imagine you're having, like, a terrible day and you're, like, 5 seconds away from just a complete and total mental breakdown. And then you get asked this, like, existential question and you're just, like... break down in front of this bronze door knocker. Like, does the eagle, does it go, girl, it's okay, just go inside, go get your blankie, like, get your weighted blanket, get a cup of tea. Or, like, if you answer with, like, a conspiracy theory, is the eagle like, ooh, oh yeah, that's a good one, all right, like, because
does it just turn to, like, a portrait and be like, can you get Dumbledore, please? Like,
when you think of Luna's answer,
Yeah, so again, for everybody listening, which came first, the phoenix or the flame? The answer that Luna gives is, a circle has no beginning. And the door acknowledges the answer by saying, well reasoned, and then opens.
So does that mean then that you could give the wrong answer, but if you can justify your wrong answer, you can still get in? Because the door says well reasoned, not you're correct. It says well reasoned.
Yes, it is an interesting
So does that
verbiage.
mean that there's not actually a correct answer to any of the riddles? It's more so your logic on how you got there to show that you have the intelligence.
This is an interesting wizard spin on the whole chicken or the egg kind of debate.
Yeah.
And I actually love Luna's answer. And I think that's why it's like, ooh, she's not. So if you, let's say you said Phoenix came first, you would still have to reason why you're actually choosing that answer.
Which again makes this so much more exhausting.
If you reason well, it'll probably let you in. If you come up with some stupid like reasoning for it, oh, it's red like fire, therefore it came first, and then the flames came after. Something like that. I'd be like, do better.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
So does it really matter what your answer is as long as you can give a logical reason?
I think so. As long as you can back it up.
Which technically means no one's wrong, no one's right.
Yes.
And that no one can help you. Can you imagine you're standing in front of the door and you have someone who's like, the phoenix came first because I'm tired and want to go to bed, and the door knocker's like, yeah, no, try again in 10 minutes. Is it like when you lock yourself out of a computer password?
What I'm thinking,
and
yeah.
it's like, try again in 10 minutes.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah. Too many incorrect, like, come back tomorrow. Like, we get that, like, poor early on Neville would have been so bad with this if this was the...
Oh my god, Neville would literally just need a sleeping bag in front of... He would never be in the common room.
He'd have to have, like, Flitwick on Speed Owl. Like, can you just, like...
Speed Owl.
Can you just, like... Can you just get here quick? I'm outside. I need some help. Anyway, we get to the Ravenclaw common room finally. And Harry makes observations since this is his first time here. Which means he's been to 3 of the 4 common rooms now. He's been to, obviously, Gryffindor. He's been inside the Slytherin one under Polyjuice Potion, and now he's been in the Ravenclaw one. But anyway.
He's got to collect them all. He's got to go into Hufflepuff soon.
Could find a way.
Poor Hufflepuffs. Like, not only do they not have a ton of main characters,
Can't even see their,
you never see their common room. I feel like J.K. Rowling was like, I feel like 4 is a better number than 3.
And then she's like, oh, don't worry, the Fantastic Beasts movies are going to be Hufflepuff's moment. And then they're like, Newt's from Hufflepuff. Cool. Here's a Dumbledore storyline. Like, come on, man.
Sorry, Molly.
This is brutal. The Ravenclaw common room is a wide, circular, airy room with graceful arched windows that in the daylight would have spectacular view of the surrounding mountains. The ceiling is domed with painted stars, and it has a midnight blue carpet. It also features, what we came here for, a large statue of Rowena Ravenclaw wearing the diadem. What do you think of the common room, Julie?
I love it.
I do too.
I love how bougie it is.
It is.
Like, Slytherin is like, we're in a dungeon. It's going to feel like a dungeon.
And the green glow from the lake.
Yeah, and Gryffindor's is just like, it's red and gold, and there's red fire.
It's comfortable. It's cozy.
They're like, our colors are red and gold, so it's going to be cozy, because red and gold remind me of a cozy fire.
But these are the 2 towers. So, Lord of the Rings reference. But these are the 2 towers of Gryffindor and Ravenclaw. And you see how differently they're designed.
One was designed by a woman, and one was designed by a man, and you can tell.
Maybe. I love the Ravenclaw design, though. Like I said, in Hogwarts Legacy, it is gorgeous. And there's like I don't know if this is how it is actually in these books or not, but it like winds to the top and you can actually like get outside and see like the sky. It's a beautiful, beautiful common room. But anyway, I will digress. Harry steps out from beneath the cloak.
Idiot!
So he can get a better look at the diadem and specifically read the words, "Wit beyond measure is man's greatest treasure," which is written on the diadem.
Dumb. Harry, you have had this cloak for how long? And you still decide, you know what? I'm going to step out from under it.
Well, to be fair, in Harry's defense here, he's clearly taken in the entire common room. Is that fair to say? It's a wide, circular, airy room. He's clearly taken in the common room. And he has failed to notice that there might be someone in the common room somewhere. So he felt safe enough, having taken in the common room and not seen anybody, to step out from under the cloak. "Wit beyond measure is man's greatest treasure," quote, "which makes you pretty skint witless." Electo Caro now stands before him. As Harry raises his wand, she presses a finger to the dark mark. And that's how this chapter ends.
Whew, we're big on cliffhangers with these chapters lately.
It's been like a cliffhanger for the last 4 chapters. It's like, but it's great. And like we said, at one point, it's just, you can't stop reading this book. Mm-hmm. You know, whether it's, you know, I said 5 in the afternoon or 5 in the morning, you're finishing this out at this point.
Yep. Yeah, my question is, Electo Caro, hanging out in Ravenclaw common room, knew Harry was walking around. What do we think?
100% she was tipped off. I don't know if it was by Snape or Voldy himself, but someone let her know, like, he might be going there. You seem unconvinced.
I am unconvinced.
Why else would she be there?
She patrols.
Chilling in a common room in, like, a dark corner of the common room?
I don't see Voldemort telling any Death Eater anything that leads to horcruxes. I don't think that he would even say, I think Harry's going to come back to Hogwarts.
I don't even think he has to allude there. I think it's part of his mystique that he seems to know everything all the time. So if he tells one of his Death Eaters, hey, this kid, he's going to be back at Hogwarts. I think he's going to go to Ravenclaw Tower. And then he shows up there, they're going to be like, how does this guy know where Harry's going to be? It's crazy. But it's quite the cliffhanger to leave on, so that's what we're going to leave on. We're going to wrap it up here. And like I said, every chapter from here on out is just insane. Let us know what you think on everything we've talked about. Leave a comment on Spotify. If you're listening on Spotify, participate in that poll that's attached to the episode. You can also leave a comment on all of our socials, which you can find us at Hogwarts a Pod. And beyond that, it's a fun end of the book. I mean, it is crazy, it's bonkers, and I can't wait to talk about it. We're going to have some fun episodes here, too.
Yeah.
Coming up, we have some fun things planned for a couple of the chapters, so that'll be interesting. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun time. With that, we'll end it here. Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Hogwarts, a podcast. If you like what you've heard, please click the subscribe button on your preferred podcasting app and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Hogwarts a Pod.